this did often happen with the girls. They sometimes didn't come home. They might be at friends, and that Libby was wanting to go to her mom, so they may have ran off.
We had spoken to, obviously, the family a number of times as far as other locations the girls could have went to, and we had learned as far as their history, whether it be they went to each other's homes and not communicated that to other family members. That had happened in the past, but there had been times where the girls had been elsewhere and had not told, whether it be parents or grandparents or any other family members where exactly they were.
Okay.
I've been with this agency in particular for 32 years, and so I had a lot of feeling and real faith that we were not dealing with an ongoing event as far as someone going out there and committing this crime again. More of a concern for me as a law enforcement leader was that we obviously did not want to create a large amount of paranoia and concern where individuals or families would have to constantly, if you will, be looking over their shoulder all the time, wondering, who's that behind me? That's no way for a community to live, in my opinion. And so wanted to convey that message that this was solely related to, or isolated, if you will, to these individuals involved. And so there was no factual information to believe that we were dealing with an ongoing situation with someone out there in the community. So I felt assured that, and still feel that way, honestly, that this is something that the community is safe.
That he is not cleared but covered. Can you explain what covered means?
Sure. Covered means that at some point an investigator has met with that individual or individuals, as the case may be, and in essence gained alibi information as to their whereabouts and their dealings during this particular time frame, particularly those 2 days involved of February 13th and 14th, 2017. And so we cover that information and determining what was actually happening in that individual's life. Where were they? Were they at work? Were they at church? Were they at school? Were they shopping? Where was that individual? So that's covered.
One that has been questioned or searched, they are still a person of interest, and they will remain that way until there is a conviction.
And again, correct. Again, I choose to use the word conviction because people are arrested every day, whether or not they're charged by the prosecutor and then taken to court and convicted is a whole set of new circumstances. So when we talk about a conviction, obviously someone has gone through the criminal justice system all the way through. The arrest is just the beginning point, okay? So we want to strive for that conviction, which is ultimately the ultimate justice for Abby and Libby.
Authorities have the voice, grainy video from Libby's phone.
That she needed to do something.
I know that voice. Who is that? Who is that? Who is that?
Yeah, who is that? That was a look at
Here's Kelsey again, Libby's sister.
The next morning, we all got up, me and my grandma got up and left about 7:30-ish, and everybody met at the fire station, and the fire department separated us into groups. And my family actually all got separated. So my grandma and Aunt Tara were in one group, and I was in a group with my dad and my other sister and a few other people. And my group got sent to High Bridge.
Todd Ladd is the pastor at DELPHI United Methodist Church, and Mike and Becky Patty are part of his congregation. He'd seen Libby just days before.
I contacted the sheriff who attends our church and just said, "Where do you want me?" He asked me to come down to the command center. So my role at the command center was basically to talk with people as they came in, as they volunteered. I signed in a volunteer, of course, but more to just be connecting, listening, talking to first responders, looking at maps, wondering. Even spent about an hour with another clergy friend who went and searched a section of the creek in behind some houses, just going over areas that had been checked, but wanted to check once again. Many people were wanting to come out, even from communities nearby, the Logansport, the Frankfort, the Monticellos as well. But of course, you saw a lot of people that you know, because you know many people in this community.
So is your mood on Tuesday morning different than it was Monday night when you were out at the scene?
Mood Tuesday morning is like, something's not right.
Pastor Todd's concerns are growing, and the search is reaching its peak.
So we had helicopters up. They were searching the creek. We had kayakers on the creek because some of those areas you're not going to see except for from the water. So the terrain is rough when you get off of the trail system. It's wilderness for this area. If it's not a cornfield, it's a creek bed. So even on foot in the daytime, it was tough to search.
The search continued to turn up nothing, and Sheriff Tobe Lezenby, who's a veteran cop, felt this thing shifting.
Obviously, as time continued to go along, I again had that thought in my mind about, okay, this isn't like majority of what we end up with in this county, being able to find individuals. Yeah, at some point I thought, okay, I'm not real sure about this one.
Kelsey was in a search party at the bridge when the first sign of the girls was found a quarter mile away.
We heard somebody yell up the hill that they found a shoe, and at the moment, I knew exactly what they were wearing. I couldn't remember what the sweatshirt was my sister was wearing until later, but I knew exactly what shoes they were wearing. And so they yelled up that there was a black Nike, and I knew it was Libby's. And then about 30 seconds later, somebody else said that they found them.
I'll never forget this part, unfortunately. I know Chief Steve Mullen and I believe the Delphi Mayor Shane Evans, Fire Chief Sterritz, we were kind of in the back part of the fire department. And I remember, I believe it was Chief Mullen got a call, said we've located them. And they're no longer with us.
It was the end no one wanted. The bodies of Abby and Libby are found in a culvert a quarter mile from the bridge. And now a search is becoming an investigation.
Because of the number of people, we wanted to get authorities to the site before we put out any blanket notice. So we kind of played coy to protect the people, to protect the scene, to protect the family. So we kind of went downstairs and played coy, and we were waiting to give notice. We wanted the family to not find out from anyone but authorities. Of course, then you start getting people, well, we heard this, we heard that. You've heard more than, sometimes you have to lie to people to protect themselves. I'm sorry. You tell them, well, you've heard more than we know. And at some point, I believe it was Steve Mullins came down and said, well, we have the scene secured. Let's go ahead and let people know so we can terminate. Let's get people out of here. I made the announcement that the girls had been found and it was not to a good end. And I thanked everybody that was there. I tried to be, you got to be that guy that When all else is troubling around, somebody has to keep it together. And as I'm making the announcement, the entire lot was full of people, and there's a stream of state trooper cars going by, and it's just surreal. I knew where they were going, and I knew what they were facing.
And what those state troopers were facing was a scene so disturbing, it would stay with them forever. It was something different, something new, the horror of which would shatter lives, haunt Delphi, and grab the attention of the world.
I am curious about the sketch on the screen, Sergeant, because the grainy picture doesn't show the face, but there were witnesses, if I'm not mistaken, who were able to lend information that got you to the sketch. Can you tell me a little bit about the witnesses? Where did they come from? What did they see?
I don't want to go into great detail, but they were near or on the trail. We have several sketches, but we've identified some of the people that they sketched. One of them was Mike. I know that, but after there's plenty of people out there, numerous people out there afterwards helping with the search, and we got a lot of sketches of those people as well, including Mike. I think maybe not, but this sketch is several months. It didn't just happen in one day. Again, it takes a lot of time. I'm not a sketch artist, but the FBI, actually, an agent from the FBI did this sketch. And, I think when somebody sketches, it takes like 10 minutes. It takes several weeks. But to get the information, to find the people that we believe saw that person that day near the time of the murders, that takes months. So we had to locate these people, interview them, find out who they really saw. Did they really see the guy on the bridge from the video? Or did they see Mike out there helping search? Or did they see somebody else out there helping with the search? So we had to identify those people. And once we felt like we identified the people that actually saw the guy on the bridge, then the sketch itself took, again, several weeks. They sketched it, looked at it. No, that's not correct. And I will say that there's a couple people still aren't convinced that that's the proper hat, but that's the hat that the sketch artist could come up with, as close to what the witnesses were describing. Where there's 4 or 5 of us up here right now, and if we pick somebody out of the room right now and identified them to a sketch artist, there'd be 5 different sketches. They'd have the similar features as we believe the sketch has of the guy on the bridge, but they'd be a little different. So I think that's what he meant is the person that did this heinous crime may not exactly look like that sketch. That's what the person's information, and then the sketch artist had to take that information in and then put it on paper. So it's not always going to be perfect, but we think that's a really good sketch, and we think it's really close to the person that we're looking for that's on the bridge.
The notion that when something like this happens, just like holding something back that only the killer would know is crime fighting 101, also looking at the families first is crime fighting 101. And
I've had my fair share of shots taken at us.
Really?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So people jump to conclusions. I mean, let's face it, this guy, this sketch, I have features that resemble that. Most Midwestern guys, with my build and stature, can look like that.
Yeah.
All right. It's not me. Harry, and Doug would not travel around the United States with us. They've checked me. I was at work. I have to badge in twice. I'm on camera. I mean, but people won't take that. Doesn't fit their agenda when they're out there. It's easy to hide behind a keyboard and take shots and say it's Mike Patty. He's the worst guy ever. I've been called everything. Trust me. It breaks my wife and my family down to tears, and I tell them, guys, I'm not going to let that bother me. I will not.
Let me ask you, Becky, a little bit about the relationship that you have with the police. Like you just said, the sergeant wouldn't be out traveling with you all over the country to do these presentations if you didn't have a good relationship and if he didn't believe in you. But again, at the beginning, That's a really tough relationship to establish because they're the ones looking at you first. And you need them to find the killer. And they need you to figure out if you're not part of it. How do you get beyond that extraordinary, awkward, and painful first dynamic?
I don't know that it really was with us, because as soon as this happened, we went to them and said, check us out. We knew that we would be the first ones that they looked at. What do you need from us? What information? We will do whatever. Check us out. Check us 2 or 3 times so that you know it's not us. I mean, we offered to do anything they wanted day one. And they were very polite and respectful in everything that they did. So I'm here to tell you, if it was, I don't care if it was one of my family and I thought I knew who it was, I'd have turned them in, you know. So we just wanted to get through that because we knew it wasn't us. So that, okay, now get down to business.
Now let's get down to business.
Let's get down to business and really find him.
And I know other citizens have brought us articles that they found, and we've collected those and put those into evidence and done whatever we could with those items that were located. So to answer your question, I think, yeah, we have been out there several times since February 13, 2017, and we will continue to go out there. There's people that go out there just because they feel like they get closer to the crime and they feel like they need to go out there to help with them, motivating them to do the investigation. But yeah, I don't necessarily encourage them to go out there without permission because it is private property.
Yeah.
And sometimes we overstep our welcome or our boundaries there. So, but if you did it the right way and somebody finds something and they do it the right way and they contact police right away so we can collect it properly, then I would say, yeah, it could be beneficial. They do it the right way and they contact police investigation.
If we can hear and see anything back then that they were thinking and see how it correlates today.
Motivating them to do the investigation. But yeah, I don't necessarily encourage them to go out there without permission because it is private property. And sometimes we overstep our welcome or our boundaries there. So, but if you did it the right way and somebody finds something and they do it the right way and they contact police right away so we can collect it properly, then I would say, yeah, it could be beneficial.
Just a show of hands in the audience, if I could. How many of you saw coverage on local or national news of this case? How many of you did not? So far more of you saw coverage of this case than did not. For those of you who saw the coverage and for those of you who did not see the coverage, a very important piece of evidence that was recovered in this case came from the girl's cell phone. And it was an audio clip of the man's voice. We've looped it several times because it is a split second, so to hear it several times is helpful. To get that out on social media, to continue to hear that, just might tweak someone's memory of someone who sounds like that. Can I ask our audiovisual professionals?
See you later, Justice Angel.
That clip of that sound.
See, I think that sounds like Kagan.
Down the hill. Down the hill. This was Libby's cell phone, wasn't it?
That's correct.
Yeah. Libby was able to not only capture that audio, she captured that image, that grainy image of that suspect. But Sergeant, I mean, really, honestly, the hero that child was, to have this.
Yeah, if you guys are interested in watching the Suzanne Morphew case, it's on 48 Hours tonight. So I don't know if I'm interrupting that or if it comes on at 10, but.
Sense, to have the wherewithal to be able to do that and to help us in our endeavor today is just nothing short of remarkable. I am curious about the sketch on the screen, Sergeant, because the grainy picture doesn't show the face, but there were witnesses, if I'm not mistaken, who were able to lend information that got you to the sketch. Can you tell me a little bit about the witnesses? Where did they come from? What did they see?
I don't want to go into great detail, but they were near or on the trail. We have several sketches, but we've identified some of the people that they sketched. One of them was Mike.
We have several sketches, and some of the witnesses actually identified Mike, and that was one of the sketches. Goodness.
After when they were,
hey, I was out there looking that day. I mean, when
they called the police
came in.
Yeah, let me clarify that. I know that, but after there's plenty of people out there, numerous people out there afterwards helping with the search, and we got a lot of sketches of those people as well, including Mike. I think maybe not, but this sketch is several months. It didn't just happen in one day.
It came out in August, correct?
What's that?
It came out in August or July? Okay,
yes.
So the summer following the February 13th murders.
Right.
That's when the sketch was released. So it's interesting to sort of get that information.
Yeah, why so
several
long?
months. Yeah, why so many? I'm pressing you here, obviously.
You can ask the tough questions. I'll answer. Again, it takes a lot of time. I'm not a sketch artist, but the FBI actually, an agent from the FBI did this sketch. And, I think when somebody sketches, it takes like 10 minutes. It takes several weeks. But to get the information, to find the people that we believe saw that person that day near the time of the murders, that takes months. So we had to locate these people, interview them, find out who they really saw. Did they really see the guy on the bridge from the video? Or did they see Mike out there helping search? Or did they see somebody else out there helping with the search? So we had to identify those people. And once we felt like we identified the people that
for sure,
blind
squirrel, for sure,
on the bridge, then the sketch itself took, again, several weeks. They sketched it, looked at it. No, that's not correct. And I will say that there's a couple people still aren't convinced that that's the proper hat, but that's the hat that the sketch artist could come up with as close to what the witnesses were describing. And I know
So the hat itself may not be the hat that's drawn there, but that's what the sketch artist came up with as best as it was described.
Superintendent said, don't focus on the sketch, and we got a lot of calls on that. I think what he was meant to say was, there's 4 or 5 of us up here right now, and if we pick somebody out of the room right now and identify them to a sketch artist, there'd be 5 different sketches that have the similar features as we believe the sketch has of the guy on the bridge, but they'd be a little different. So I think that's what he meant is the person that did this heinous crime may not exactly look like that sketch. That's what the person's information, and then the sketch artist had to take that information in and then put it on paper. So it's not always going to be perfect, but we think that's a really good sketch, and we think it's really close to the person that we're looking for that's on the bridge.
I'm glad that you said that, because we all think that if you see someone, you could describe someone and get a great composite sketch. And I recall when we were covering the death of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri, the person who described what she saw, which lent to so much news coverage, ultimately had to admit that she saw it on TV, that she hadn't actually seen the thing at all, that she thought she had. Her memory was that she'd seen it, but that ultimately she'd seen an account given on television and then recited the account that was given on television. And I think it was, you might all remember this, it was because it was very specific, the expression she said, he was shot down like a dog. And shot down like a dog had been a quote that had run on the news that night, over and over and over and over again. And so it was just sort of intriguing to see how people who see something somewhere else can ascribe that to what they think they saw at the actual moment. I want to ask you, Anna, if I can, the notion that when something like this happens, just like holding something back that only the killer would know is crime fighting 101, also looking at the families first is crime fighting 101, and it is excruciating for families. Can you help us to understand, those of us who have not walked in your shoes, what it is like not only to be going through this awful grief, but to know that you're being questioned and scrutinized?
It's the worst kind of famous a person could ask for. They go through your photos, they go through your friends, they call, email, private message people that you haven't seen in years. They dig into everybody's life. And they come to you saying, well, I heard, I know, somebody said. And I'm like, why are you even coming to me with this? You heard, you think, whatever it may be. We found that social media is wonderful for the fact that we get these flyers out so fast. The posts of the girls missing went out so fast because of social media. But it can make people feel so very connected that they don't realize how intrusive it really is.
And angry and troll-like.
Yes.
Troll-like.
That they take it upon themselves to send you things that you really don't want to see, you don't really want to hear. It's not our jobs. We've all encountered somebody. I just know it's this. I just know it's this person. And please call Jerry at the tip line. Please call somebody else because I can't do this.
Yeah.
The
parents of the children who were shot.
I know, me too, Dana.
The 20 children, first graders who were shot in Newtown, are trolled regularly. And they're called liars. They're called conspiracy theorists. There are people who've been arrested for doing this kind of thing. Have you had any of this happen to you?
I haven't had anybody arrested, but I've had my fair share of shots taken at us.
Really?
Oh, yeah. This was 2018, so imagine now.
Like Anna was saying, it's been a great tool because you can quickly get things out there and share it, and all of a sudden, it's 100,000 likes or something, quickly, and it gets out there. But people jump to conclusions. I mean, let's face it, this sketch, I have features that resemble that. Most Midwestern guys, with my build and stature, can look like that.
Yeah.
All right. It's not me. Jerry, and Doug would not travel around the United States with us. They've checked me. I was at work. I have to badge in twice. I'm on camera. I mean, but people won't take that. Doesn't fit their agenda when they're out there.
Exactly.
It's easy to hide behind a keyboard and take shots and say it's Mike Patty. He's the worst guy ever. I've been called everything. Trust me. It breaks my wife and my family down to tears. And I tell them, guys, I'm not going to let that bother me. I will not let naysayers and people.
Good for Mike.
Thank you. I'm not going to let these naysayers and people
We're gonna jump ahead
change
just
the
a little
agenda
bit.
and the focus.
So you were asking them about how the police treated them during this investigation, and I've said this multiple times. I've tried so hard to put myself in these people's shoes. I can't do it. I try. I don't even want to be in my shoes, let alone their shoes. But when I was standing at the bottom of that hill that night, every other investigator,
exactly.
we thought, you're going to laugh at this, but first 48, we'll have somebody in custody. And we didn't. And then reality set in and it really hit home. But I will say this, we will treat these family members with the utmost compassion because they've been so cooperative with
County, Indiana, at the time of these murders, and who can shed a little light on how unique this crime scene was. Thank you for being here, sir. The girl's cause of death is still protected, which I understand, but what can you tell us about the actual crime scene with what you're allowed to share? Could this have been the work of a serial killer?
Well, I think like most people, because the trail is not well known, it's not a big tourist spot, and because the bridge itself is something you wouldn't cross unless you were familiar with the area. And the bridge was abandoned 30 years ago. And when you see the person walking across it with his head down, it's because it's not safe to cross that bridge. The bridge was not part of the trail. The trail terminated at the bridge. And so most people, I believe, and most people in law enforcement thought it must be a local person because why would anybody be there? Why would you be familiar with that trail? But on the other hand, the crime is so it's impossible to think of a motivation for the crime. Generally, when you have a murder in rural Indiana, this is Carroll County, the motive was obvious, the suspect was obvious, and in this case, the two girls were murdered. And as I've told people, the crime scene is very unusual. It's all very strange. And so while we certainly thought in the early days it would be solved within 2 or 3 days, now I have to wonder if they're just outside of Delphi, Indiana.
So without giving up details that could compromise the investigation, you say there's some unique physical aspects to the scene.
Well, as this 4-year anniversary has come up and some people have wanted to talk to me about it, it has made me think about something I've been concerned about. Besides the fact of the video and the audio, which is amazing evidence to have from a crime scene, as I've told people, if you had arrived at this crime scene where the girls' bodies were found, there were 3 or 4 physical characteristics of the crime scene that you absolutely would take pictures of. Now, law enforcement has good reasons why they don't want to release information. I am not involved in the investigation in any way. I hope that people who are handling the investigation will consider whether perhaps it might be time to release some more of that information. So connections to other crimes and other places, or if someone had ever spoken to the perpetrator of this crime, perhaps it would give them a clue that they had learned something from the perpetrator.
So just so I can connect these dots a little bit, if another crime scene had some of these unique characteristics that are worth photographing, could you connect that and potentially think this is the work of a serial killer?
I think so. I'm no expert on serial killers, but I can tell you in the early days of this investigation, of course, law enforcement, the FBI, the Indiana State Police, the Carroll County Sheriff's Department were looking for crimes in other locations that might have similar characteristics. But of course, the public doesn't know some of these similar characteristics. And even then, the characteristics they were looking for tended to be more general things than the items I'm talking about. And I'm not certain of the exact significance of these things, but they are very unusual.
As a former prosecutor, are you confident this case will be solved? That's the real question our audience has.
Confidence is a difficult word. People ask me, do I think it'll be solved? And I think it will be, but I can't give you strong reasons for that. I'm hopeful. When people commit a horrifying crime, they feel compelled to confess. They feel compelled to brag. I can't help but think that the person who committed these crimes will talk to somebody at some point, or someone will realize, gosh, this person said something to me that makes me nervous, concerned about this. If it's someone you care about, you'll think of all sorts of rationalizations to not believe they committed a terrible crime, but we know terrible crimes get committed. So I think that's a possibility. And in addition, I don't hope for this, but there's always the possibility that someone will be caught committing another crime, as serial killers have sometimes been caught in this country, and will confess to this crime here in Delphi, Indiana.
Well, Godspeed to you and all the things you're doing now. I appreciate your sharing insights on a case that has riveted the nation. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on.
Up next.
It hit me that this isn't going to be good.
And I just want you guys to know you're doing an amazing job representing Libby. If you need a moment at any point to step off camera or anything, by all means, don't worry about that. Grotto.
So, just with everything you guys have talked about, a couple of the questions from the video have been answered. One of them was who found the girls. Some people had thought that it had been a specific person, but it was a group of people, correct?
There were actually a couple of groups. There were groups on both sides of the creek, and they were kind of like just across from each other. So it was kind of about the same time.
All right. And has anyone wondered at all who contacted the media so quickly that day when they went missing?
No, but it was all over. I mean, I don't know who specifically did, but I saw several people from where I work at Caterpillar. They took off work that day and were there. I mean, I can't tell you how many I saw, but if it was, 20, 40, 50 people, my coworkers, just showed up and said, "Hey, Patty, we heard we're looking, we're here to help." And so they were at that fire station, in Delphi to get put into search parties.
Well, the media originally, the night that they disappeared, we actually have a nephew that works for the local news channel here. And I think, of course, it went around our family pretty quick. And I think when he heard, he's the one that originally came up and it ended up on our local news. And then I don't know how it spread from there.
The girls haven't answered their phones since around the time they went missing.
Missing, abducted, we don't know for sure. Cell phone has been pinging around town here. There's a cell phone tower, but the ping was last noted about 5 or 6 hours ago. They say the phone's now dead.
The last Snapchat from one of the girls was from 2:07.
Text, I saw a text where they got delivered, but they never got read.
Very scary.
A new clue hiding on the forest floor.
I got a call, I think at 2:30 from the sheriff because the latest ping is coming back to the area of the Monon High Bridge.
In the very early hours of the 14th of February, and not long after the official search had been called off for the night, Sheriff Tobe Lezenby was notified that a cell tower had picked up a signal from one of the girls' cell phones.
And I got a call, I think at 2:30 from the sheriff, and they were wanting some lighting to go out and see if we could find the cell phone because the latest ping was coming back to the area of the Monon High Bridge.
Mike said they're not stopping.
A few of us went back out to help search for the cell phone, and we didn't find anything at that time.
A number of people, by their own volition, stayed up most of the night searching, but still, by sunrise, no sign of Abby or Libby.
We're just praying for their safe return.
13-year-olds Liberty German and Abigail Williams went missing Monday. The girls were last seen near an abandoned railroad bridge known as the Monon High Bridge around 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Well, upset, confused, obviously very distraught. Just worried. All I want to do is have the girls get home safe.
The girls were dropped off near the bridge to walk around and hang out. They had made arrangements to be picked up by a family member later in the afternoon. But when it came time for the girls to be picked up, they never showed up.
Getting scared now.
Abigail's mom, Anna Williams, has spent hours worrying, just hoping to hear her little girl is okay.
It's getting cold. Been out a long time. They don't know what time they ate last.
The girls haven't answered their phones since around the time they went missing.
Missing, abducted, we don't know for sure. Cell phone has been pinging around town here. There's a cell phone tower, but the ping was last noted about 5 or 6 hours ago. They say the phone's now dead.
The last Snapchat from one of the girls was from 2:07.
Text, I saw a text where they got delivered, but they never got read.
Very scary situation right now, and I just want her home.
Now many are on an extensive search to find them.
Ravines, ditches, trash cans for phones, any sign of the girls, and anything we can find to just find them.
Deputies, firefighters, and local police are checking every crevice and nook.
Looking for answers, looking for the girls.
But so are others from the community. And many of them say they won't stop looking, even if it takes
daybreak, fall over with exhaustion. Honestly, I hope they're just hidden up somewhere, scared to be in trouble.
Alexis Moberger, News 18.
Here they are. Police say Liberty German is 5'4", has a heavy build with blonde shoulder-length hair and blue eyes. She was last seen wearing a tie-dyed shirt, gray sweats, and black Nike shoes. Abby is 5'4", small build with medium-length blonde hair and hazel eyes. Abby was wearing a gray zip-up sweatshirt with a burgundy t-shirt underneath and blue jeans. We will certainly